We are in Spa-Francorchamps, in the heart of Belgium's tourist country, the Ardennes forest, amidst its rolling hills and sleepy little villages, one of which, of course, is Francorchamps, which is quiet all year round, but really comes alive on Grand Prix weekend. And at the heart of the village, a little model shop where you can see models of racing cars from the present day, stretching back to the misty times long ago when the man on my right, John Watson, was driving. This circuit is pretty special to drivers, isn't it?
Well, this is the last true road circuit in the Formula One calendar, and we're standing right here in the corner called Eau Rouge. This corner is just unbelievable. The cars come rushing down from the La Source hairpin. It's quite a steep downhill incline, and at the bottom of the dip where the cars grind the undertrays into the ground, they're doing about 170 miles an hour, and in qualifying, the quick guys are going to go through there flat, and this is without doubt the most spectacular corner on any circuit anywhere in the world I've ever seen or driven on. And really, I can feel the tingles standing here right now.
Thanks very much, John. Well, also with us, Alan Tyndall, our race commentator. Alan, Thierry Boutsen, a winner in the last race. Do you think he can double up at his home Grand Prix?
Well, I don't know if I'd put money on it, but he comes in a tremendous high. You've got to remember, as you say, he's had a win. He's also had a fastest lap, and he's had a pole position all in the space of a month. So he's coming to his home Grand Prix in very good shape.
Thanks very much, Alan. More from you later, but for now, we'll go back to John Watson, who yesterday, when the track was closed, had a chance to drive around the circuit.
Well, here we are. This is the start-finish line. Let me say the Formula One start-finish line here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, because it's the other side of this piece of track that is the traditional start-finish line, but for some reason, Formula One changed the start and finish basically in the days of the turbo cars. And instead of having that magic rush down into the Eau Rouge, we've got a traffic jam rush into this very famous second gear hairpin called La Source. Very tight, very slow corner. One of the few parts in the circuit where overtaking is a realistic option, but also the scene of very many shunts. So a place where a lot of action will take place, not least of all at the start of the race. But now we're going to come down past the grandstands and really what is the old pits at the Spa circuit, and of course the circuit now drops down fairly dramatically and the cars are picking up speed very quickly indeed. Well, this is the rush down to this infamous Eau Rouge corner. To me, it's like Beecher's Brook and the Grand National course at Aintree. It's the most demanding corner, I think, in any Grand Prix circuit I've ever driven on, and it really is extremely taxing on the car and the driver. And remember, the Formula One cars are coming down here at almost 180 miles an hour, and certainly in qualifying there will be those that will go through here without a lift at all, and that, I can assure you, is just a spectacle second to none in Formula One racing. This sweep quickly over to the right, getting the car in against the curb but not touching the curb, and then the car is ejected out over this crest and over to the left. This part of the circuit now is called Radion, and it again is a really demanding and taxing part of the circuit. Your exit speed is very important here because this is now the quickest part of the circuit. It is the straight, although there's a kink just further down the road, but it's here where the cars will actually get up to the maximum speed, close to 200 miles an hour. It's third gear entry. The first part of the chicane here is a right-hand corner. It's in a third. Again, you've got to get the car in fairly tight to the curb. Then most drivers will probably, what I would call short shift. They'll take fourth gear just before here and accelerate out, but not get out to the outside of the corner. They want to get back quickly to the left, because this next little right-hand corner here is the most important of those three corners we've been through. You've got to get out of here quickly and cleanly and have the car accelerate then down this short straight. This is the section called Les Combes. So we now come down here in fourth gear, maybe just catching fifth gear briefly, then back down to third gear. In fact, some people might choose second because it's slow, it's an off-camber corner, and the tendency is the car will always want to run wide, it'll always want to understeer. That's the front wheels really being reluctant to grip. So clean and neat through that corner, getting the power on as early as you can, back across now to the right, into fourth gear, and then through this left-hand corner. Again, a falling camber. The road is always running away from you here at Spa. It's always difficult to get the car to tuck into those corners. And now we come down to yet another of these wonderfully fast corners at Spa. This one's called Le Pouhon. That's my best version of a French pronunciation. Back into fifth gear, make an early apex, and then it's flat out, and it's really let the car run out to the very exit of the corner, maybe just clip that curb, keeping the car tight in now for the second part of the corner, again flat out, and at the exit of this corner, probably something like 160, maybe 170 miles an hour, finally into top gear for this short run down to the next little S's, which is called Malmedy. Another overtaking manoeuvre. This is where we saw a number of years ago Senna and Nigel Mansell having a very pretty little waltz together as they fought for the same part of the road. It's a difficult place to pass, but it is possible, but you have to have cooperation. Again, keeping tight to the right, because it's the second part of this corner, again, that's the important part. Bring the car in now, make your apex, and you must get on the power early. It's so vital here at Spa to maximize the exit of these corners, to accelerate out as quickly as possible. Here we're coming down to what would be the first part of a famous corner, Stavlo. This is on the new part of the Spa circuit, but let's still call it Stavlo. Again, a fourth gear corner, neatness pays, the car again running out, but trying to keep the car straight in the exit, because here we have the second part of the Stavlo corner, and this is the most crucial part. Again, a double apex corner, the car again drifting out to the left-hand side of the road, trying to get the power on as hard as possible, fighting a little bit of oversteer there. Now up into fifth gear, and again this is the acceleration on the return leg back up to the start-finish line. Now come back across to the left-hand part of the track, because you want to be well over to the right as you come up to this infamous bus stop chicane. Yet another overtaking spot on the circuit. Again, another spot where you'll see a lot of action, and some people may well slide up the escape road. We're going to go left here. This is the entry to the bus stop chicane. It's a really gutty part of the circuit. Bump, bump over the curbs. The car will oversteer on the exit. Because the cars are so stiffly sprung, they look just awful anyway. And of course, on the exit of the chicane, taking advantage of the curbing here, bouncing over one, bouncing over the other. Here we now return, coming out in third gear, hard up against that curb, fourth gear, and now we're coming up to the start-finish line, grabbing fifth as we come round this left-hand corner, and then it's the final rush again up to the famous La Source Herpen. Either it's the end of the race, the beginning of the race, or for sure a part of the circuit where there's going to be a lot of action.
Sunshine at Spa makes a pleasant change from rain, and the crowds were out early to make the most of it as the pre-qualifiers prepared to do battle. Ligier have dominated pre-qualifying for the last two races, but this time round they didn't have to bother because Team Monteverdi hadn't made it to Belgium. They run into financial problems, so they missed the race and the rest of the season. Fastest of the early bunch, Olivier Griard in the Ocella. He rounded the longest circuit in Formula One, all 4.3 miles of it, in 1 minute 57.941, half a second clear of Yannick Dalmas in the first of the AGSs. The Frenchman rewarded the fans who'd followed him across the border from the Beausset to cheer him on. There were early celebrations in the Cologny camp as Bertrand Gachot qualified for the first time this season, the team reaping the reward of a recent switch from Subaru to Ford power. Last to make the grade, Gabriele Tarquini in the other AGS, a third of a second ahead of one of the unluckiest men in the pit lane, Roberto Moreno. So as Gachot wandered off to continue working for the rest of the weekend, it was an early farewell to Moreno and Claudio Langes and the Eurobrun team, as well as Bruno Giacomelli, some 20 seconds off the pace in the line. Well, for the last couple of races, as we move into the second half of the season, there's been as much interest off the track as there has been on, as people try to work out who'll be doing what and who'll be driving for who next season. Time now for the latest driver news and all the buzz from the pit lane. Gossip is rife this season about the futures of several top drivers, not least the current world champion Alain Prost. The Frenchman has re-signed for Ferrari next year, and he isn't saying whether he'll then retire. Nigel Mansell has already announced his retirement, which Ferrari have been reluctant to accept. He has until the end of the month to confirm his plans. Uncertainty surrounds the future of Team Lotus following the loss of their massive Camel sponsorship for next year. The news is a blow for Martin Donnelly.
obviously very disappointing all round. I've had a good association with Camel over the last 3 years. They've been good for me, and hopefully likewise I've been good for them. As far as the Lotus situation is concerned, you know, they have to now sort of work extra hard to pull in some major sponsorship so they can continue on for next year, and henceforth they've brought in Peter Collins and Peter Wright as commercial directors. Peter Collins has been spending a lot of time in Japan. He's hopeful of putting something together there, and you know, I think he will pull it through, and Lotus will continue.
Martin, do you have an option again with Lotus next year?
I have the option actually lies with the team, so I'm free at the moment to talk to who I like and put deals together. And again, it very much depends on what the package the team have to offer for next year. But all I can say that I won't be unemployed when it comes to racing in Formula 1 next year.
One man who definitely won't be unemployed next season is Ayrton Senna, although he found himself in the middle of some drama in the morning's untimed session. He lost the McLaren at Malmedy and came to rest in a direct line with oncoming traffic. Martin Donnelly didn't improve matters when his Lotus chose to lose a wheel at the very same spot. Totally unruffled, the Brazilian picked his moment to clear the area, while a super efficient member of the Lotus pit crew arrived to rescue his marooned driver. Despite improved performances from the pretenders in recent races, the kings of Formula 1 are still McLaren. The man behind their success, team boss Ron Dennis. Andrew Marriott has been looking back over the Dennis career and began by asking him where his passion for precision came from.
Oh, I would say, without doubt, it was something taught to me by my mother.
That's true. Yeah.
She is. I mean, she's a meticulous person, and you know, the sort of attention to detail. I mean, it used to drive the whole family crazy, but some of it washed over me, and I mean, I'm very much the same. I like things right, and of course, your parents do contribute a great deal to the moulding of your character, and I think, as regards that part of my character, was quite severely influenced by my mother.
So it really came very early on, and you always set those high standards. And
I think high standards is not the right expression. I think it's just a sort of a desire for things to be right, and to just have this care about everything. You know, I think that, you know, I have a view that everything is important, and it doesn't stop just with racing cars or how the company operates. It, unfortunately for my wife, flows all the way through to my behaviour at home, and the values that I'm trying to teach my own daughter. You know, I'm just a unbelievable pain sometimes to live with, but that's me. You know?
do you ever have any time for home? I mean, Grand Prix racing is a full-time business, as we all know. Are you able to step back from it and have a normal existence? Nigel Mansell's a man that seems to be able to do that.
Yes, well, I'd rather not be compared to Nigel, not because of any reasons, and I believe, you know, individuals are very different. And I mean, Nigel, being a Grand Prix driver, of course, has the ability to leave the circuit, and whilst he carries with him the thoughts and the need to train and things like that, my work, in fact, becomes more intensive when I leave a Grand Prix circuit. I mean, I now genuinely go to Grand Prix and find myself relaxing. I mean, there is a limitation to what you can do at a Grand Prix. Intercontinental races, of course, mean that you're working with very restricted amount of equipment, just about what you can carry with you. When you go to European races, you have a more elaborate backup system, and of course the logistical possibility of returning to the factory or flying parts out. So even taking that into account, you know, when I go back to the office, you know, my days are far more complex and more stressful then. So it's not right to compare any manager to a Grand Prix driver, because they do have considerable more free time. As regards what time I have, I try to spend it with my family. It's become quite important to me over the last 2 or 3 years.
You've been in racing all your working life. Do you ever see a period, life after Grand Prix?
Life after Grand Prix. I don't really give it a great deal of thought. I mean, I try to pace myself and to pace the company. We've learnt that if you grow too quickly, then you tend to leave behind management voids, which give you all sorts of problems when it comes to being efficient and running the company effectively. But again, my own views are, I think, 3 or 4 years ahead, but I don't think of retirement. I don't think of doing other things. I enjoy what I do, as long as I feel that I'm doing it well enough to maintain my own values, which I hope are values that allow the company to continue to win.
Well, that's another side of Ron Dennis. We had to take a break now, but we'll be back in a couple of moments with highlights of the first qualifying session for the Belgian Grand Prix. Well, now, without any more ado, let's get on with the main business of the day, the first official qualifying session for the Belgian Grand Prix. Your commentators, John Watson and Alan Tyndall.
13 minutes into the first qualifying session, and Nigel Mansell appeared. Not surprisingly, already Senna has gone fastest.
Well, with Senna fastest, Mansell, of course, is going to try and get onto the front row of the grid, preferably on pole position. He's had such a miserable season so far with his Ferrari that really, I think Mansell must wonder if anything's going to go right for him in 1990. But here, well, he's got John O'Lacey. Well, O'Lacey's pulled out of the way. Now Mansell on a clear run. Dear me, that was nasty. The way the car dropped off the curb, it bit very viciously. Mansell lucky not to let the car get away from him, but now dropping downhill. And look at, again, the back of the car. He gets the rear wheel over the curb. The car almost completely sideways in the track. Well, here we are back with John O'Lacey. I don't know when this was in the session, but he certainly locked it up a bit. This is Lassour Serpent losing the car. Well, he did come to a complete standstill. Looked like his new tyres were a bit too new, but here we are now back with Mansell, almost completing the lap, coming up to this, what they call flick-flack bus stop chicane. Not too bad through there, fairly clean in fact. Most of the cars are clipping the curb as they go through the chicane, and now coming up to complete the lap.
Amazingly, his time is second fastest at this stage, 1:54.59, which is quite extraordinary. We would have expected him to stop after ruining his tyres earlier on. Now, here's Senna on a flyer.
So again, this is the long uphill section of the circuit, the climb back up to the start-finish line, and through this corner, this very, very fast left-hand corner, flat out in 6th gear, coming up now to the chicane, down into 2nd gear for the first part, clean through there. That was good for Senna. Now the exit of the chicane, also equally clean, riding a wheel up the curb, but that isn't the problem. Again, Senna crossing the line.
1:52.564, not as quick as last year, but fastest so far today. So Senna would be reasonably happy with that, but I don't think he's out of the war with that time.
Now I see Thierry Boutsen. Of course, Boutsen the winner in Hungary 2 weeks ago, and this is his home Grand Prix. Very anxious indeed to please the crowds, please himself, and really, of course, Noel Boutsen again doing something similar to Mansell, dropping that wheel off the curb. And of course, Boutsen really wants to try and cement his position in the Williams team. Rumours abound about the team looking to replace him, a number of names, Senna and O'Lacey amongst them. So for Thierry Boutsen, this year's Belgian Grand Prix really is an important event.
There's Thierry Boutsen, and he's really almost overdriving this car at the moment. It'll prove not to be a very happy day for Thierry. We're watching him on his first run here at the moment, down at the back end of the circuit, and with that one mistake already, and right out over the curves that time. That was a close one, John.
Yes, again, he's letting the car run too wide. He is, as you said, overdriving the car a little bit. I can understand why, because he's having to get past one of the AGSs. So it's a frustrating lap. Boutsen trying absolutely on the limit, but really almost trying too hard.
And now we're just about to see him coming up, completing that lap, but not a very good day for him. He's only 6th fastest at the end of the day. In this shot, we see him on his second run, but he rides right over the chicane. And again, another nasty moment for the Belgian in his front of his home crowd.
Well, in fact, he didn't ride over the chicane. He took a shortcut. He had almost 4 wheels on the grass on the inside of the curbing of that chicane. Thierry obviously trying extremely hard indeed, probably trying too hard.
Talking about Belgium, this is a very sad sight. Gasho having to sit out the first qualifying session, having pre-qualified for the first time this year.
Yes, I mean, poor Bertrand, nothing seems to go right for him at all. He got through pre-qualifying for the first time this year. He didn't run in the morning session, the on-time session, and he's not getting out in the time session. What a shame.
This is another young up-and-coming driver, Martin Donnelly, who's again a bit in the wars here in Belgium today. He's had all kinds of problems in the morning session when a wheel came off the car, but here he must now get a good time.
Well, this has been a very frustrating day for Martin Donnelly, and of course, at Spa you get very few opportunities to get a quick lap in.
Martin Donnelly then, amazingly, in the entire day's running, that includes the hour and a half this morning and this hour of qualifying, will only get 8 laps, and he ends up in 19th position. Piquet in the pits. He is going to be the quickest of the Benettons this afternoon. You can see the heat here at Spa.
Well, these qualifying tyres have only got one real running lap in them. What Benetton are trying to do is recover them, and you can see the chalk marks on the tyre. That indicates hot spots on the tyre, so they're pouring water over it to try and dissipate the temperature in the hope that he can get a third run, probably in a mix of the first and second set of tyres.
Gerhard Berger out of the track, and his opportunity to start this flyer and try and match the time at the moment held by Ayrton Senna, who leads this session at the moment. So Gerhard Berger heading down for the frightening Eau Rouge ahead.
And this is, I tell you, that's a real corner, and doesn't look it, but he's doing 170 miles an hour in the dip, and the car just gets compressed into the ground. He's got to get past Capelli's Leighton House, and of course that probably cost him maybe 3 or 4 tenths. Doesn't sound an awful lot. On a long lap like that, and particularly on this long straight, he'll have lost that momentum. He needed to carry him up the straight to get the maximum speed. But he's got Martin Donnelly ahead of him, just getting past De Chesros in his Dallara. This is one of the problems of any racetrack traffic, and particularly in these qualifying sessions. Just one car can cause you to lose that vital lap. Donnelly now pulling well over to the right, Berger getting through cleanly, and now it's the charge down the hill. We've got a fairly long straight before this fantastic 5th gear left-hand corner. The track falls away from you all the time. You feel like the car wants to run off the track. At this point then the camber changes and the car starts to really bite, and it's about 160 miles an hour there. Oops, a wobble under braking, keeping the car tight. The first part of that right left-hand corner should be taken tight and neatly. Riding over the curb coming out, but not really losing time. A little bit of understeer there in that right-hand part of the Stavelot corner. And now it's the charge back up the hill, and now Berger flat out, 5th gear, getting into 6th gear as he comes around this right-hand curve.
It's a beautiful lap so far, apart from that little wobble. But really very little time lost indeed. This is the really brave left-hander. He's not quite out on the curbs now. He's just got the bus stop chicane to deal with, and it looks good. That's lost a bit of time there, John,
well,
undoubtedly.
Yes, he got the car well. I mean, the car was flying. He got the car well sideways over that. Again, those vital tenths.
But it's 1:51.21. It's the fastest lap so far, and that could well put Gerhard Berger on pole.
Well, there's a man who looks like his day's work's finished. Ayrton Senna taking his helmet off in the garage. He's currently second quickest, his teammate Berger fastest. So Ayrton Senna not a happy man.
Well, now here's the last hope of getting that McLaren off the pole position. It's Prost out in the Ferrari and really going for a good time. Obviously trying extremely hard up in the Les Combes section and dipping now downhill. So Alain Prost with Mansell having to contend back in about 4th place at the moment. Prost going for it.
Yes, and this Spa circuit really is a technical circuit. That's the kind of circuit I think Alain Prost really thrives on. It is a long circuit, but it really requires a great deal of precision. And it's the entry to all these corners that really is vital, because if you get in slightly too quick, slightly too wide, it'll affect the performance through the corner. But Prost really is so thoughtful about how he approaches and really placing the car most accurately indeed, and not using the curbs quite so much as we've seen some of his competitors doing, but nonetheless, he's so quick.
And Prost really clean and really quick, as you say, John. And now the time that he's going to try and obviously beat is Berger's. He's only got about 3 corners to do. It'll be interesting to see how he copes with the bus stop. He's going to come up to it shortly, but first he's got that frightening left-hander. He gets very cleanly through that. The car down on the rubbing strips there, and very neat indeed into the chicane, and this should be a beauty.
Yes, Prost got through there, as you'd expect, with precision, clean, and it looks to be a reasonably good lap to me.
1:51.841, second fastest, but not pole position. That goes to Gerhard Berger On the second row, it's Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell. Then on the third row, we've Piquet Boutsen. Fourth row, it's Alessi Patrese. Then Gujamin, Capelli, Suzuki, Nakajima, Nannini, Martini, Bernard, Pirro, Warwick, Caffey, Donnelly, De Cesaris, Ladena, Barilla, and then Alboreto, Larini, Alio, and Griard. Remember, those are only the provisional grid positions. The people who didn't make it today, David Brabham, Tarquini, Dalmas, and Gasho, who didn't even get a lap.
Well, that completes day one of Eurosport's coverage of the Belgian Grand Prix. In day two, we'll find out who's on pole position for the race itself when we cover the final qualifying session. You can see it live during the afternoon on Eurosport. If not, the highlights will be on our special programme, which starts at 10:30 Central European Time, 9:30 in the UK. Join us then. An overcast start to day two of Eurosport's coverage of the Belgian Grand Prix. Here at Francorchamps, the weather decidedly cooler than it was on the first day of practice, and you reckon, John Watson, that might have a bearing on today's proceedings?
Yes, Matt. Friday was a much warmer day, and of course these 3.5-litre engines don't like hot air. Saturday morning now it's cooler, and I think we'll see an improvement in lap times. Certainly the times on Friday afternoon were slower than the pole time from last year, so we can expect to see those times dropping possibly by up to a second or more. Pole last year was 1 minute 50.8, and so far we're in the 51s. McLarens, Ferraris, Bennett and Williams, they're the people at the front. They're going to be the people at the front by the end of today. What will happen in the race on Sunday, well, we have just to wait and see, but one has to suspect there isn't going to be very much difference in the status quo.
OK, John, thanks very much. Let's just have a check on the championship standings. In the Drivers' Championship, Ayrton Senna is in the lead with 54 points, 10 ahead of his arch-rival Alain Prost for Ferrari. Third is the other McLaren driver, Gerhard Berger. He has 29 points. And fourth, the Belgian hero, Thierry Boutsen, with 27. Nelson Piquet is fifth with 22, Riccardo Patrese is sixth, and three drivers share seventh place, Jean Alesi, Nigel Mansell and Alessandro Nannini. 10th is Ivan Capelli, 11th Eric Bernard, 12th Derek Warwick, two drivers in 13th place, Stefano Modena and Alex Caffey, and two in 15th, Satoru Nakajima and Aguri Suzuki. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren Honda have the lead with 83 points, ahead of Ferrari in second place with 57. Third are Williams Renault with 42. Benetton Ford are fourth, Tyrrell fifth, Leighton House Judd are sixth, along with Lola Lamborghini. In eighth place it's Camel Lotus, and in ninth, Brabham Judd and Arrows Ford. Ayrton Senna grabbed the headlines on day two at Spa without even touching a car. Before practice began, McLaren announced he had re-signed for a year with an option to make it 2.
It's a 2-year agreement. As the communique says, with an optional second year. But both sides are going to this new contract with the state of mind of working for it to be a successful 2-year period.
Ayrton's a very complex individual, and we have a great attention to detail in the document that constitutes the agreement, and therefore it just took a long time to get every single part right. But we're very happy with the outcome.
Senna's decision will have had repercussions up and down the pit lane, not least at Williams, who at one time had seemed close to signing the brilliant Brazilian.
Well, Senna was never, despite everyone's speculation, directly in focus. He's a McLaren man, and I would always have been astonished if he'd ever left them. We are in discussions with drivers. I don't see any reason to rush those discussions. I can't say with whom these discussions are taking place, but in due course, we'll make decisions and then announce them.
I mean, is it wild speculation to say that Nigel Mansell could still be in the picture?
I think it's fair to say that whilst discussions are going on, it will be improper to mention any names.
Williams are on a high after Thierry Boutsen's victory in Hungary, and the Belgian has been running a new version of the Renault engine, called the Evolution 2, in practice. Renault's Jean-Jacques Delarouvière told us about it.
The number 2 evolution of the RS2 Renault engine and this evolution is about a new conrod assembly and a new camshaft.
And what are the main advantages?
We hope to have more speed.
More speed up at the top, or in the middle, or low down?
No, not in the low, because the engine is very good in the low revs, but we need more speed for the high.
And it's just been used in qualifying?
Just in qualifying, because for the moment we are not sure about the viability of the engine in race.
Talk of Senna joining Williams must have been unsettling for Thierry Boutsen, so the win in Hungary will have come as a welcome relief.
Sure, yes, it was a very good race for me. It was probably the best race of my career. Very difficult race in the dry, and I think very spectacular for television. I mean, television coverage, I watched it afterward, it was very good. I think, as nervous watching it on television than sitting in the car.
But now you come obviously to your home Grand Prix on a pretty good high.
Yeah, sure, but it's a different circuit here. It's a much faster track, and our car works maybe a little bit less, not as good as in Hungary.
Now, all these rumours about leaving Williams, and you've, I think, expressed that you'd quite like to stay in Williams. You certainly must have increased your currency recently.
I don't know what's going on at the moment. Frank hasn't made any decision. What I said always is that if there is a room, I would like to take it, if there is a room for me, because I feel that I've done a lot of work here in the Williams team since last year to develop the car, develop the engine. And it's only now at the end of this year that everything will be put together to get a very good, very competitive car and engine for next year. So I think all this work that I have done with the team, I think, well, I would like to be there next year to use it and try to win the championship next year with that.
Life at the top is run-of-the-mill for Senna, but others are struggling, among them JJ Leto, jobless following Monteverdi's disappearance.
Well, even I don't know. I just got a fax on Wednesday that they're going to stop the whole thing, and the reason was that Goodyear wasn't supplying the tires. But I think that the main reason was that we didn't have money anymore.
And where do you go from here?
From here back home and trying to find some other job. Hopefully Formula One testing contract for this year, or maybe a drive or Group C. We will see.
Any firm options?
Not at the moment. It's very difficult now, but hopefully something comes up.
Unlucky Bertrand Gachot only pre-qualified for the first time here in Belgium, but life has its compensations, among them girlfriend Katie Palmer.
Well, originally I was working for Marlborough. I was running their hospitality unit in Formula 3000. And it wasn't really a great interest in motor racing. It was just a fantastic job because it meant traveling all over Europe and doing some, exciting work. For me, it was very interesting. And I met Bertrand at his Formula 3 race at Silverstone.
And it kind of developed from there, did it?
Yes, it sort of developed from there. It was a bit difficult because, it isn't easy when we were working in the same profession. But that was for the first year. I was working for Marlborough and he just carried on his racing. And at the end of the year, he asked me if I would work for him because obviously it would be a lot easier. We would be together and I could do public relations work for him and stuff like that. But I prefer to be here, to be involved, because then you know what's going on. When the morale's down, you realise why. You know the problems that surround the motor racing. And there are a lot, obviously in any business there are a lot of problems. And I think if you're there, you understand what goes on. And also you can share in when the times are good as well, you can share in that.
Well, now the times haven't been too good this year. It's been a pretty hard year for Bertrand. Second year in Formula One, and really, presumably, at this stage, struggling to stay in there.
Yes, it's been very difficult this year. It's been very frustrating, but he's been fantastic. Really, the morale, he's kept it up all year. He's been very strong, and he's so determined to make it that I think, he knows that in the back of his mind, and he doesn't let it worry him, really. He just keeps going and persevering and hoping that next year will be better.
Kate, obviously the minuses of this existence are the worries and the anxieties. What are the bonuses?
Oh, I think probably more bonuses for him because it's a fantastic feeling when he can be successful. It's such a hard path, and once you pass that and you get through, I'm sure it's a fantastic feeling. But for me, obviously it's a beautiful life. I enjoy traveling and I go all around the world, and it's fantastic. And I enjoy being with him. We get along really well together and we have a nice life.
And do you think one day maybe you'll be living with a world champion?
I hope so. I think so, yes.
Well, we have to take a break now, but coming up in a couple of moments, the main business of the day, the final qualifying session for the Belgian Grand Prix. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time now for the best action of day 2 at Spa, the battle for pole position, the final qualifying session for the Belgian Grand Prix. Your commentators, John Watson and Alan Tyndall.
Training, bester und schnellster bisher. Gerhard Berger auf dem McLaren Honda mit 1 Minute 51,211. Das wäre vorläufig die beste Startposition. Neben ihm würde am Prost stehen, der etwa 6 Zehntel langsamer war. Dann in der zweiten Reihe Senna, Menzel, Piquet, Butzen, Alesi, Patrese und Gugelmin und Capelli. Sie sehen Alessandro Nannini, den Fast-Sieger vom letzten Grand Prix in Ungarn. Vielleicht erinnern Sie sich, an zweiter Stelle liegend wurde er von Ayrton Senna in der Schlussphase des Rennens abgeschossen, so muss man wohl sagen. Nannini im Benetton Ford. Das Wort Training ist eigentlich falsch. Was sich hier abspielt, ist alles andere als ein Training. Die Tanks haben nur ein Minimum an Sprit. Es gibt spezielle Qualifikationsreifen, ja spezielle Qualifikationsmotoren. Hier geht es ausschließlich um die Startposition beim morgigen Rennen. Der Trainingsbeste hat schon gut 100 Meter Vorsprung vor dem letzten und er muss auf dem Weg zum Sieg 25 Fahrzeuge weniger überholen. Es geht also um Prestige, natürlich auch um Preisgeld und Chancen fürs Rennen. Das Problem, praktisch aus dem Stand super schnell zu sein, kein Herantasten, kein Kennenlernen der Bedingungen, nur eins zählt, die Bestzeit. Mini oder vor Grand Prix haben das manche schon genannt. Chaosrunden ist ein Ausdruck, den Niki Lauda geprägt hat. Nannini in der Schlussphase seiner schnellen Runden. Er war gestern nicht besonders gut, liegt momentan auf dem 15. Startplatz. Eine Position, die nicht akzeptabel ist für ihn. Er hat sich etwas verbessert. 1 Minute 53,497 Sekunden und er rückt vor auf den 5. Rang. An den Boxen haben wir unseren Mitarbeiter Michael Schmidt vom Sportauto. Michael, bitte, was gibt es denn an den Boxen?
Ja, in der Pause zwischen dem Vormittags- und dem Abschlusstraining herrschte ja Hochbetrieb in den Boxengaragen. Bei Ferrari und Benetton wurden Motoren gewechselt. Nigel Mansell war wieder einmal unzufrieden mit seinem Motor. Er sagt, es ist ein hoffnungsloses Triebwerk. Bei Nelson Piquet war es höhere Gewalt. Ihm ist heute Morgen der Motor zerplatzt und er muss nicht im Ersatzauto fahren, weil die Mechaniker mit ihrer Arbeit nicht fertig werden. Gerhard Berger ist ziemlich besorgt über die Zeiten, die Alain Prost heute Morgen im freien Training vorgelegt hat. Er sagt, wenn er schon im Training so schnell ist, dann ist zu befürchten, dass er im Rennen der große Favorit wird. Ayrton Senna schließlich ist etwas genervt, kann man sagen. Er ist sauer, weil er 1 Sekunde langsamer ist als ein Teamkollege. Er kann sich das nicht erklären und er macht dann das, was alle Teamkollegen machen, wenn der Stallgefährte schneller ist. Er übernimmt einfach die Abstimmung von Gerhard Berger.
Okay, Dankeschön. So viel von den Boxen also weg. Berger immer noch vorn mit einer Zeit 1 Minute 51. Senna, wie gesagt, 1 Sekunde langsamer und auf der Strecke im Moment Ivan Capelli im March. Die Strecke ist fahrerisch sehr anspruchsvoll mit 7 Kilometern, die längste des Grand Prix-Kalenders. Viele Fahrer bezeichnen sie als die schönste der Saison. Hier kann der Pilot alles zeigen, was er kann. Fahrerisches Können und Herz. Viel Mut vor allen Dingen ist nötig. Ivan Capelli. Durchziel 1,54,8. Seine Position im Moment Rang 13 in der Startaufstellung. Wenn Sie hier ein gelbes Auto sehen, das Ihnen ein bisschen fremd vorkommt, dann kann das sein, das ist Bernard Gachot, ein Belgier im Coloni, den sehen Sie nicht allzu oft, denn er hat sich bisher noch für kein Rennen qualifizieren können, aber wir wollen es Ihnen nachsehen, den belgischen Kollegen. Die versuchen, ihre Fahrer natürlich ins Bild zu rücken. Immerhin, es ist nicht mal ein Deutscher dabei. Auch für Techniker und Ingenieure ist alles drin. Die längste Gerade steigt an. Sehr schnelle Kurven. Die Rundendurchschnitte liegen Berge zum Beispiel bei 225 Kilometer pro Stunde, Durchschnitt wohlgemerkt. Und dann gibt es noch eine Besonderheit hier in Spa. Es regnet häufig bei den Grand Prix, aber davon sind wir ja bisher, Gott sei Dank, verschont geblieben. Das ist Eric Bernard im Lola Lamborghini. Ein aufstrebendes Talent, wie viele meinen. 19. bisher. Er mit dem Versuch, seine Position natürlich zu verbessern. Heute Morgen beim Training ist ihm das schon gelungen. Da war er 10. Und ich bin sicher, der junge Mann, 26 Jahre alt, wird sich in der Startaufstellung weiter nach vorne schieben. Derek Warwick im Lotus Lamborghini. Die Stars bisher alle noch an den Boxen. Sie sehen hier Ayrton Senna. Die Feuerschutzhaube hat er bereits aufgezogen, aber bisher noch Gelassenheit bei den Topstars. Pro Qualifikationsstunde gibt es für jedes Team nur 2 Satz Reifen. Die Top-Teams, die alle einen Goodyear-Vertrag haben, können unter 4 verschiedenen Gummimischungen wählen. Üblicherweise nimmt man für die Qualifikation die weichste Mischung. Damit lassen sich über eine Runde die besten Zeiten erzielen. Ist die Entscheidung gefallen, das passiert meistens etwa eine Stunde vor dem Beginn des Qualifikationstrainings, werden die Reifen markiert und das Fahrzeug bei der Ausfahrt an den Boxen kontrolliert. Berger, Prost, Senna, Mansell, die ersten 4 von gestern bisher noch nicht auf der Strecke. Derek Warwick nähert sich dem Ziel und ist durch in einer Zeit von 1:55,3. Lassen Sie mich schauen. Hat sich um 1 Sekunde verbessert, aber an der Reihenfolge nicht sonderlich viel geändert. Rang 15. Hier sehen Sie noch einmal die Situation der ersten 8. Berger, Prost, Senna, Mansell. Das sind die großen 4, die vorne liegen, die aber bisher noch nicht auf der Strecke waren. Es wurde schon oft gesagt, ich wiederhole es trotzdem, die superweichen Qualifikationsreifen halten genau 3 Runden. Hier der Blick von einer entfernten Kamera auf die Strecke, von der Höhe herunter, am anderen Ende der Strecke. Maurizio Gugelmin im March, der Teamkollege von Ivan Capelli. Ich wiederhole trotzdem, die superweichen Qualifikationsreifen halten genau 3 Runden. Eine, um sie anzufahren, richtig warm zu machen, auf die optimale Betriebstemperatur zu bringen. Dann sind sie richtig weich, kaugummiweich, halten genau über eine schnelle Runde und um die Fahrer in einer Auslaufrunde wieder an die Box zurückzubringen. Jetzt also doch einige Fahrzeuge auf der Strecke. Das ist Alex Cappi im Arrows. Das Fahrzeug, das wahrscheinlich schon zum Saisonende mit dem Porsche-Motor 12 Zylinder mit dem neuen Aggregat aus Zuffenhausen ausgerüstet werden soll. Alboreto und Cappi im Mittelfeld der Startaufstellung bisher. Das ist nicht anders zu erwarten. Das ist so in etwa das, was das Team im Moment leistet. Schwer zu sagen, aber ich glaube, Cappi ist auf der schnellen Runde. Wir haben hier keine Informationen, ob die Fahrzeuge gerade erst rausgegangen sind und anfahren oder ob sie sich schon auf der schnellen Runde befindet. Das muss man im Augenschein abstimmen. Cappi scheint richtig zu beschleunigen, richtig Gas zu geben. Wir haben ja auch nicht die ganze Zeit gesehen. Jetzt geht er über den Zielstrich, mal die Zeit anschauen. 1:55,1. Gugelmin schon wieder draußen. Schwierigkeiten für den Brasilianer im March und Cappi auf Rang 16. 1 Sekunde und 4 Zehntel schneller als seine gestrige Zeit. Also die Bedingungen scheinen recht gut zu sein. Das Das ist der Teamkollege von Alex Cappi, Michele Alboreto. Da kommt die Wiederholung von Gugelmins Missgeschick. Ist wohl nichts anderes als ein schlichter Defekt. Bei Williams hören wir von den Boxen bei Butzen und Patrese, also Butzen, dem Überraschungssieger von Ungarn vor 14 Tagen, werden noch die Getriebe gewechselt. Das ist noch einmal Nannini. Senna, Piquet, Mansell machen sich wohl fertig, um demnächst auf die Piste zu gehen. 2 Sachen also, wie gesagt, für jeden. Das heißt, reicht eigentlich unter normalen Bedingungen. Es gibt da Ausnahmen, die kann ich Ihnen vielleicht im Verlauf dieser Qualifikation noch sagen. Das reicht im Allgemeinen für eine einzige schnelle Runde. Nannini also draußen, im Moment die 5. Position, das sagten wir, seine Bestzeit 1 Minute 53,4 Sekunden, 53,5 fast, nähert sich dem Ziel. Schwierige und sehr schnelle Passage hier, die Passage kurz vor der Zielschikane, der Bushaltestelle, wie die Fahrer hier sagen. Das ist sie. Recht eng die Einfahrt. Beide Randsteine berührt. Aber das war sie noch nicht. Die optimal schnelle Runde. Er fährt auch voll durch. Das war wohl erst der Anlauf. Eins 52,6. Bisher die beste Zeit, die eingeblendete Zeit hat wohl nicht gestimmt. 1,52,6 für Nannini. Heute die beste Zeit, aber keine Verbesserung vom Rang her für ihn. Er bleibt vorläufig 5. hinter Berger, Prost, Senna und Mansell. Im Bild haben wir Jean Alesi, der schon eine schnelle Runde hinter sich hat, mit 1,52,8 und den 6. Rang innehat. Und das ist der Topstar der Formel 1 des Grand Prix Sports, Ayrton Senna, Brasilien, auf dem McLaren Honda. Sie sehen selbst, Anfahren der Reifen, gemächliches Tempo für den Brasilianer. Etwas enttäuscht, für ihn sicher am meisten die 3. Startposition, über 1 Sekunde langsamer als sein Teamkollege Gerhard Berger aus Österreich. Dass nur 2 Satzreifen ausgegeben werden, hat natürlich einen Grund, der wichtigste Sicherheit. Man will verhindern, dass zu viele Fahrzeuge gleichzeitig auf der Strecke sind. Das ist wieder Bernard Gachot im Coloni. Jetzt reicht aber. Das Qualifikationstraining gilt als relativ gefährlich, nicht nur wegen der absoluten Topgeschwindigkeiten, die die Piloten versuchen, aus ihren Fahrzeugen herauszupressen. Die Gefahr kommt vor allem von den unterschiedlichen Geschwindigkeiten auf der Strecke. Anfahrende, so wie hier bei Senna, ausrollende Fahrzeuge, dann die Piloten, die auf Zeitenjagd sind. Das macht an manchen Stellen 150, 200 Kilometer pro Stunde Geschwindigkeitsunterschied aus. Senna und dahinter, das ist wohl Nannini, der aufgeschlossen hat. Bin gespannt, ob er eine Windschattenfahrt versucht. Nein, Entschuldigung, liebe Zuschauer, das war wegen der irrtümlichen Zeiteinblendung. Ich war noch der Meinung, er wäre gar nicht voll gefahren. Die Zeit läuft mit für Ayrton Senna. Ich bin gespannt.
All eyes and all watches now on Ayrton Senna as he sets off on his first quick lap here in the second qualifying session. Down he dives into Air Rouge, then up this 1 in 6 climb over the top, and it's absolutely daunting even to stand there and watch at that point. This is the fastest part of the circuit. We're now up on the Kemmel Straight. They were doing nearly about 140 miles. Oh, sorry, way over that yesterday. They're lapping at almost 140 miles an hour.
Yes, the quickest cars were the McLarens. They were reaching 193, I think it was, just before they got on the brakes. And it's a long uphill straight. The important part of the straight really is not the straight itself, it's the Eau Rouge and that section just after it, where you've got to get through that section absolutely as cleanly and quickly as possible, because the speed you carry on to the first half of the straight is so vital to a quick lap time. Senna had a little bit of traffic there. He's been able to get through fairly cleanly. I don't think that would have had much effect, but of course you're talking about thousands of seconds, tenths of seconds. Now we've got another car, one of the Ligiers. Let's hope there's cooperation. Yes, they're really pulling over, letting Senna get through cleanly there. Nothing really to say that would have held them up. Now at the bottom of the circuit, the lowest part, Stavlo. It's around this part of the circuit we're looking to see how quick it is. The split time there, the quick times have been around about 1:24, 25. So Senna's lap so far looks to be reasonably good, but of course it's still a little over a mile to go until he gets to the checkered flag.
And that was the first suggestion there, that he was anywhere even near a curve. Bouncing over those a little bit as he's behind Piquet now. Comes up towards completing his lap. I don't think it's going to be a burger time. It's going to be very quick, though. It's close. It's 1:51.24, which is an improvement on yesterday, and indeed should bring him up ahead of Prost up onto the front row.
Der zweite Rang nicht schneller als, jawohl, die Besten von heute, aber nicht schneller als Gerhard Berger. Gestern Senna also auf dem zweiten Startrang bisher. Aber er hat ja noch einen zweiten Satz Reifen. Und dann waren Berger, Prost und hier Menzel noch gar nicht durch. Menzel also unterwegs, vierter bisher. Senna hat also, das wurde bekannt, gestern einen Einjahresvertrag für ein weiteres Jahr also mit McLaren unterschrieben. Die Spekulation war ja sehr heftig. Der Betrag, den er gefordert haben soll, sehr hoch, 15 Millionen Dollar für ein Jahr. McLaren wollte ihn eigentlich für 3 Jahre binden. Senna wollte nur einen Einjahresvertrag, hat sich nun also durchgesetzt. Es wird geprüft, was wohl am Ende bei den Verhandlungen herausgekommen sein wird. Welches Salär für den Brasilianer? Man redet von 12 Millionen Dollar, das wären ungefähr 19 Millionen D-Mark. Ein Journalistenkollege hat ausgerechnet, das wären 950 Kilogramm Gold, ungefähr das 13-fache Körpergewicht des Brasilianers. 1:52,6, keine sensationelle Zeit für Nigel Mansell, nicht einmal besser als gestern. Hier sehen wir sie eingeblendet. Er bleibt auf seiner gestrigen Zeit sitzen, also vierter Rang. Berger, Senna, Prost, Mansell, 2 McLaren vor 2 Ferrari im Moment. Und hinter der Grafik wollte ich sagen, jetzt voll im Bild sehen Sie Thierry Boutsen im Williams Renault, den Überraschungssieger von Ungarn. Seinen 3. Sieg und seine erste Pole-Position hatte er da, seinen ersten Sieg im Trockenen, seine beiden vorausgegangenen Siege im letzten Jahr in Kanada und in Australien, in Adelaide, waren ja Regen.
Watching Nakajima.
Only 12th quickest yesterday, Nakajima. As always, that startling teammate, considerably quicker than him. He was, in fact, 7th quickest in qualifying on the first day, despite a little spin, but not, of course, on his fast lap. But Nakajima, his best time so far is 1:55.798, and he's just improved on that, 1:55.399. That's today, so he's improved
this time considerably.
But such is the pace of qualifying today that Nakajima, who was 12th yesterday, has dropped 10 places. He's now down at 22nd, so really everybody else has leapt forward. Nakajima's time was less than half a second quicker than he managed to do yesterday, but he needs to find a lot more than half a second.
And you've got to remember, John, we've only about 25 minutes, just a little over 25 minutes gone in this qualifying session.
Yes, but Nakajima has suddenly found that time. He's gone from dropping to 22nd. He's now up to 8th. He's done a time of 1:53.468. So Nakajima is right behind his teammate, John Alesi. Now, Alesi is almost 0.6 of a second quicker than Nakajima, but that was a lot of time that Nakajima found, and a pretty impressive effort, I must say.
Im Moment, da einige Fahrzeuge nach vorne gerückt sind, nur auf dem 10. Startrang. Wie gesagt, seine erste Pole-Position hatte er vor 14 Tagen in Ungarn beim Rennen. Und da gab es ja bekanntlich den Start-Zielsieg für den Belgier. Alle Augen hier natürlich auf den Fahrer, der hier seinen Heim-Grand Prix bestreitet, gerichtet. Und das ist der Weltmeister Alain Prost im Ferrari, von dem ebenfalls an diesem Wochenende bekannt wurde, dass er bei Ferrari bleibt und ein weiteres Jahr bei den Italienern fährt. Also viele Spekulationen, viele Gerüchte um die Transfers bei der Formel 1 kommen damit zu überliegen. Die beiden Topstars des Grand Prix Sports sind festgebunden an ihre bisherigen Teams. Senna bleibt bei McLaren, Prost bleibt bei Ferrari. Gerhard Berger im Bild, der Trainingsschnellste, auch draußen. Jetzt wird es schwierig, für wen entscheiden sich die Kameras, wem werden sie folgen. Beide offenbar und offensichtlich noch in ihrer Aufwärmrunde. Menzel in der Box, vor sich den Monitor, auf dem die Zeiten angegeben werden. Na, jetzt weiß ich natürlich genau, wo die Kameras draufbleiben werden, auf Thierry Boutsen, den wir hier gesehen haben. Mal sehen. Auf alle Fälle eine schwierige Entscheidung für den Kollegen Regisseur. Gerhard Berger nimmt Anlauf. Die Bestzeit fuhr er gestern mit seinem zweiten Satzqualifikationsreifen. Er war schnell, aber einmal optimal, denn er hat bei der Schikane, die Sie eben gesehen haben, einen kleinen Fehler gehabt. Auch hier lässt er sich weit hinaustragen. Ich weiß nicht, ob das sein Wunsch war, so zu fahren, oder ob er sich ein bisschen verbremst hat. Ein bisschen Verkehr, das dürfte kaum Zeit gekostet haben. Das ist die lange Gerade, die ansteigt, 95 Meter Höhenunterschied. Nicht schlecht, nicht viel, das schafft ein Radfahrer, aber das kostet doch ein paar PS. Und wer da die Flügel für die schnellen Kurven noch ein bisschen steiler stellen kann, trotzdem wie die Honda-Piloten, die vermutlich die PS-stärksten Aggregate haben, der ist da schon im Vorteil. Gerd Berger also unterwegs. 1:51,2, seine bisherige Bestzeit. Die Uhr läuft mit. 2 Pole-Positionen hat er in dieser Saison bereits. Zum Saisonauftakt in den USA und dann in Mexiko. Er hat gesagt, ich glaube 4-mal schon freitags der Schnellste und nie habe ich tatsächlich die Pole-Position geschafft. Vielleicht klappt es dieses Mal. Einfahrt in die Schikane, da hat er den Fehler gehabt, aber auch diesmal vielleicht nicht ganz optimal. Zumindest hat er viel Randstein mitgenommen, das tut weh dem Fahrwerk und die Zeit, nein, keine Verbesserung. 1:52,5. 1 Sekunde und 3 Zehntel langsamer als eine Freitagszeit. Und das ist Prost, die hier durchkommt. Achtung, 1,51,5. Er verbessert sich zwar, aber nicht um die Ränge. Er bleibt auf seinem dritten Platz. Den zweiten hat ihm ja Senna bereits mit einer guten Zeit abgenommen. Prost bleibt auf seinem dritten Platz hängen mit seiner gestern von 1,51,580. Und das ist Terry Boutsen, der jetzt unterwegs ist. Trainingsschnellster vor 14 Tagen.
Car now with Thierry Boutsen on the climb up through the Blanchimont curves. This is the first of these two curves. This is a real white knuckle one. You've got to hang on there. That's quick, and that curve on the outside, it gets awfully close to you. Now harden the brakes, down into second gear. Boutsen does it. He drives right across that curve. It looks awful. Must do all sorts of things to the bottom of his car. He thinks it's quick. Let's have a look and see what the clocks say. 52.028. Boutsen is now in fourth place. Mansell dropped down to fifth.
Rückt vor und ist Vierter. Hat Mansell verdrängt. Fast genau 2 Sekunden schneller Thierry Boutsen als gestern in der Qualifikation. Und Startreihe bisher für den Belgier. Hier sehen wir Berger, die beiden McLaren im Moment vorn. Dann Prost und Boutsen in der zweiten Reihe. Mansell, Nannini die Reihe 3. Piquet, Alesi sind die Reihe 4. Charlie war schon war schneller als gestern, aber im Moment nur der 8. Rang. Nur in Anführungszeichen muss man das sagen, denn mit dem Ford Cosworth Motor hat er ein Aggregat, das ein PS-Handicap von etwa 100 PS gegenüber den Honda V10 von McLaren beispielsweise haben dürfte. Den Honda-Motor bekommt Tyrrell im nächsten Jahr. Dann sind die Aussichten für Jean Alesi noch um einiges besser. Die Auslaufrunde für Thierry Boutsen, er wird in der Zwischenzeit natürlich erfahren haben, dass er eine gute Zeit herausgefahren hat, dass er vorläufig mit seinem ersten Satz Reifen in die zweite Startreihe gefahren ist. Thierry Boutsen wird wohl Williams. Hier haben wir dann 51,2, das war die Zeit. Verlassen müssen, vielleicht sogar zum Saisonende. Frank Williams, der querschnittsgelähmte Teamchef, meint, Terry ist zu unbeständig. Man war auch hart im Rennen um Ayrton Senna. Es soll das Angebot um $12 Millionen von Williams gekommen sein. Jetzt ist Senna natürlich bei McLaren. Vielleicht kann Boutsen dann doch dort bleiben. Man munkelt aber auch, dass er vielleicht zu Arrows wechselt, wieder zu Arrows wechselt. Er wäre, so hört man, der Wunschpilot von Porsche für das nächste Jahr und für das neue Fahrzeug. Im Bild haben wir Nigel Mansell, eine weitere schnelle Runde probiert, sich aber gleich in der ersten Kurve schon etwas verbremst hat und weit hinausgetragen wird. Die Zeit läuft mit und
And with anticipation here at Spa, watching Mansell. And there's the heart stopper over with on this lap and right up over the curve. Mansell really trying, really going for a quick one now. This is where he's up to over 190 miles an hour. You can see the British supporters waving their flags in joy. He is the ultimate entertainer.
He's certainly an entertainer both on and off the track. But really, this is the corner, this right-hander he's through now. Yesterday he got a wheel up the curb, the car snapped viciously sideways, but that was fine today. Now we're just coming out of this long third gear right-hand corner. He got up that curb, but he stayed well away from it this time. So the lessons of yesterday, well learnt by Nigel Mansell. Oh, having said it, he goes and does it on the very corner he was almost perfect on yesterday.
And we saw a lot of cars actually running over that curb. There's quite a bump on the exit of that curb, so it's not a good place to do it. And of course, you're going at one heck of a lick when you're at that point of the circuit. Now he's coming, almost completing the new section. Just a few little twists and turns to do before he comes to Stavolo, back onto the old road circuit. And then the great big gulp, because ahead of him lies Blanchimont, a sort of double corner. And it's the second part of that that really is the gutsy one.
Yes, and Mansell absolutely committed. He goes out and does these laps. When we talk about Senna being the master of qualifying, but Nigel Mansell contributes so much to the spectacle and enjoyment of qualifying, because he's totally committed as well in his particular way. But he was nice and clean and neat through there. It might have looked slow, but really I believe that's the best way to go through that chicane. And let's see his time.
152.268. We are just looking. It's an improvement, but it hasn't improved his position. It's a reasonable improvement from yesterday, taking about 0.4.
Kalender, und das ist natürlich auch ein kleines Problem für die Reifen, weil die Reifen in den letzten Kurven abbauen, aber Ligok sagt, das hängt immer vom Fahrer ab. Ein guter Fahrer, der ist etwas vorsichtig in den ersten 2-3 Kurven und hat dann die Reifen bis zum Ende einer Runde. So viel aus den Boxen.
Dankeschön, Michael. Dankeschön, Ligok. In der Zwischenzeit ist Mansell durch, 1,52,2 seine Zeit. Besser als die vorherige, aber er bleibt in der dritten Startreihe, vorerst 5. Rang für den Briten im Ferrari. Das ist ganz klar, Qualifiers, das sind also die super weichen Qualifikationsreifen. Wenn man wirklich schnell fahren will, wenn man vorwärts kommen will in der Startaufstellung, dann muss man diese Reifen wählen. Sie haben gehört, welchen Unterschied das ausmacht. Aber ein Mann wie Philippe Payot im Ligier, der gestern disqualifiziert wurde, weil sein Heckflügel etwas zu hoch oder zu breit war, um wenige Millimeter nur. Seine Zeiten galten nicht. Der hat also keinen sicheren Platz unter den 26 Startern. Bei 313 Kilometer pro Stunde am Ende der langen Gerade. Gerhard Berger und Ayrton Senna waren heute Morgen die schnellsten. Berger mit 313 Kilometer.
Now we're on Nelson Piquet, who's been out, who's found 0.8 of a second of an improvement over yesterday, currently in 7th place, behind his teammate in Indy, who's in 6th, 65 miles an hour, 170 miles an hour for the Honda, possibly through there. Now hard on the brakes, down into 2nd gear through that, then 3rd gear before the second part, and a little bit of an oversteer there. Piquet getting very wide and losing it, and spinning, and he's gone out of camera shot. Bang! He hit the, oh, that's a very nasty place indeed, because he actually hit the barrier that divides the track from the pit entrance. No damage to Piquet from what we can see, but certainly the left-hand section of the car has an almighty biff, and there was a camera mounted further down the pit lane. We could feel and see the vibration of the camera as Piquet hit that. That's the danger of that exit of that chicane. As the car comes out, if you get it wrong, you get on the curb on the chicane, you then get on the curb on the outside of the corner. The car went out of control, and of course it then just spun and hit that barrier.
Sie sehen, der Boxeneingang ist versperrt durch den liegen gebliebenen Benetton. Da ist Nelson Piquet aus dem Fahrzeug ausgestiegen. Die Stelle ist auch nicht ungefährlich beim Herausbeschleunigen aus der Schikane. Da drehen die Räder oft gleich durch, wie das bei Piquet wohl. Nein, er ist zu weit herausgetragen worden auf den Randstein und dreht sich beim Einlenken, beim Korrigieren dann. Aber ich glaube, es ist nichts passiert. Er hat die Leitschiene wohl nicht berührt. Schwer zu sagen von hier aus. Ich hoffe, dass wir ein Wort von ihm hören nachher. Doch scheint doch, dass er die Leitschiene berührt haben. Sie sehen es auch hier an den Ölspuren. Und das Training ist vorläufig unterbrochen, bis die Strecke geräumt ist, bis wahrscheinlich die Ölspuren beseitigt. Bild haben wir zum 3. Mal schon, werden Sie sagen, Sandro Nannini im Benetton, den Teamkollegen von Nelson Piquet, den Sie gerade eben gehört haben. Gott sei Dank nichts passiert. Und die Zeit von Nannini natürlich wieder nicht sonderlich gut oder sogar ziemlich schlecht. 1 Minute 59. Sie werden fragen, ja, jetzt erzählt er uns dauernd, man kann nur 2 schnelle Runden mit diesen Qualifikationsreifen fahren und offensichtlich hat Nannini nur Qualifikationsreifen. Das ist korrekt. Aber man kann natürlich alle möglichen...
And at last we see Patrese on a flyer. He's had quite a number of problems here at Spa. He indeed had a fairly major moment this morning when the rear wheel of that car came off on the Kemmel Straight, the fastest part of the circuit. He didn't damage himself or indeed the car any further than the mechanical damage that caused the incident. And he's back in 7th place at the moment. 154.26 is what he did yesterday. He's now improved dramatically to 152.7.
Denn wir sagten es anfangs, am Getriebe der Williams Renault wurde gearbeitet. Es hat sich für den Italiener gelohnt. 2 Sekunden fast ist er schneller geworden und er rutschte vom 15. Rang, auf den er inzwischen zurückgefallen war, wieder auf den 7. Rang nach vorn. Zur Erinnerung noch einmal Berger, Senna, Prost und Butzen, die ersten beiden Startreihen, dann Mansell und Nannini, Patrese und Piquet. Das Fahrzeug von Piquet wird sicher repariert werden bis morgen zum Rennen. Im Cockpit von Thierry Butzen waren wir soeben und den Mann mit dem gelben Helm und dem weiß-roten Auto, den kennen Sie. Ayrton Senna in langsamer Fahrt Richtung Ziel. Die Anwärmrunde, eine sehr langsame Anwärmrunde für die Reifen. Offenbar müssen die Reifen bei den Temperaturen und Bedingungen langsam angewärmt werden. Man muss vorsichtig fahren, Sie hörten es von Nelson Piquet. Er ist ein bisschen hektisch gefahren, weil er sich offenbar geärgert hat, weil er viel Verkehr hatte in seiner schnellen Runde. Und dann reichten die Reifen nicht mehr über die ganze Distanz. Gerhard Berger sehen wir hier vor dem Computermonitor mit den Zeiten, umringt von japanischen Motorexperten von Honda und den britischen McLaren-Technikern. Senna nähert sich dem Ziel und wird jetzt gleich eine schnelle Runde beginnen. Anfahrt auf die letzte Schikane. Senna im Moment Zweiter. Nur 68 Hundertstel. Etwa 7 Hundertstel langsamer als der Teamkollege Gerhard Berger.
Senna now having another stab at wrestling pole away from teammate Gerhard Berger. And Senna over the last few races, you're finding Berger becoming increasingly strong within the team. It's taken Berger basically this season to this point to re-acclimatise, or in fact to get accustomed to the McLaren philosophy of Formula One racing. That philosophy is about commitment, whether it's commitment in the car, commitment in the workshop, commitment from the Honda, the engine supplier. Commitment is the word that really epitomises McLaren these days, and there's the man that really introduced that ultra-high level of commitment, Ayrton Senna.
And right now, I'd say Berger's pole is under considerable threat because Ayrton Senna, who could be deceptive at times because it's such a machine, the whole combination, the car, the chassis, the engine, and Ayrton Senna, that it doesn't go up over curbs. It is precision at its very, very best. And it's on a very fast part of the circuit at the moment. Again, you notice that he just kisses the white line, hardly goes near the curbs there.
And Ayrton was very quick through that corner indeed. He let the car run just out to the very edge of the curb, kissed it, but nothing that would hinder the progress. But this looks, at this point of the lap, to be quick. So we've got to wait now till he comes up back to us to see whether he's been able to maintain the speed he's carried in the first half of the lap. It's the second half of this lap that really is the way to Senna, because it is here. First of all, there's a car ahead of him, looks like a Ferrari. Yes, it is Alan Prost. Now, is Prost going to be helpful or not? Well, yes, he has. Yes, Prost has helped him through that corner. But it's the second half of the lap that the qualifying tyres' grip starts to go away, and really that's the difficulty in gauging just how quick can you go throughout the lap.
The magic time at the moment is Berger 151.211, and he's done it. And how has he done it, John? That's brilliant.
Well, that was a good lap. It looked good. The first half looked brilliant. The second half wasn't just quite so good, but certainly a very impressive time from Senna. He has now beaten the pole time from last year. As we look at Thierry Boutsen, Boutsen has done a 151.902.
Which was identical to his last time, John. So he's still in 4th place at the moment, but this has really put it up against Berger, and indeed Prost now is on a flyer.
Yes, and of course, just looking back at Senna's time, he is actually the first person this weekend to improve upon the pole position he set for last year's race, which is a 1 minute 50.8. So it's taken really quite a long time, much longer than any other part of the season, I remember, for the cars in 1990 to improve upon the practice times, the qualifying times of 89. But Senna has now done it. He's done it by half a second with a 1 minute 50.365, and he, to me, now looks to be fairly conclusive about having that pole position for tomorrow.
And of course, if he can hold on to it, that will be his amazing 48th pole position. Here's a man that in recent times hasn't been worrying so much about pole positions. Indeed, in his career he's only had 20 of them, but of course he's had more points than anyone and more wins. So far the tally is 43, and he would be very happy, I think, all the same, to get that Ferrari up onto the front row, because remember, the start here at Spa is crucial. You go off the start line and almost immediately into a hairpin, and if you're on the front row, a chance to get away cleanly against all the mayhem that so often has happened here at Spa in the past.
Oh, indeed it is. That first corner of the La Source hairpin bend has been the scene of many a little nudging match, but Alain Prost really nudging the stopwatches more than anything else, trying to get his Ferrari onto the front row, and it also looks a very good lap, I have to say. Prost is going to challenge Senna's pole position. Well, no, he didn't make it, but he's on the front row with a 151.043. That lap again looked very, very good, Alan, and again I think it was only in the last 3 or 4 corners where Prost just began to lose that momentum. The grip that the qualifying tyre has finally not being up to the entire length of the circuit. But Alain Prost on the front row beside his arch rival and contender for the championship in 1990, Ayrton Senna. Gerhard Berger, look at him getting his 2 left-hand wheels across the curb. That's a nasty part of the circuit, Alan. The curb is quite sharp. If you touch it, it really can throw the car quite violently. And of course, where the curb ends is a dip. That's that cloud of smoke again, dropping the wheel off the curb. Now we're coming down into this lovely Pouhon corner. Berger much steadier through it than Petresi, but doesn't look as quick through it as Senna did a few minutes ago.
I think you enjoy pronouncing that corner, John. There he goes. He is always, even yesterday on his very fast lap, and he's one of the few that haven't improved today. On his fast lap yesterday, he had a fairly major twitch and caught it with lightning reaction. So he is about the only top runner there that we're still seeing the little star on yesterday's time. So we wait to see what he can do. And remember that Senna's already got onto pole position, gone on down into the 50s. And here comes Berger into the bus stop for the last time.
He got through there better than yesterday. Yesterday had a flight. The car was well over a foot above the ground. Yes, an improvement for Berger. That's put him back up onto the front row. So it's Ayrton Senna under Martini having a little escapade. That's that long, fast, downhill Pouhon corner. Martini never even took the corner. He was so wide, he got onto the gravel and the rubbish on the outside of the corner. The car was just dragged into that gravel trap. Luckily for him, that gravel trap has been extended a number of years ago. They pushed the barriers way, way back. So no damage to the car, but of course that's the end of Martini's qualifying for this afternoon. But going back to Gerhard Berger, that lap of 1 minute 50.948, 3/10 quicker than his time of yesterday. He's back in the front row of the grid, the 2 McLaren Hondas, back where they really like to be, best of all.
Fahrzeug wenig beschädigt, Fahrer unverletzt. Also die Situation an der Spitze: Senna 1,50,3, vor Berger mit 1,50,9, Prost und Butzen in der zweiten Reihe, Menzel, Nannini die dritte Reihe, und bitte noch aber Michael Schmidt an den Boxen.
Ja, bei mir steht der Lokalfavorit Thierry Butzen. Thierry, wie war's im Training?
Etwas besser dann gestern, aber ich bin zufrieden mit der vierten Zeit. Er konnte natürlich besser sein, aber mit unserem Auto hier und unserem Motor konnte ich nicht schneller fahren. Das war das Maximum, was ich mochte konnte. Und dann, ich bin 100% gefahren, das ist der 4. Platz, ich bin damit zufrieden.
Jetzt werden viele Leute sagen, Sie haben in Ungarn vor einer Woche klar gewonnen, Pole Position gehabt, vor 2 Wochen. Warum klappt es hier dann nicht?
Das ist eine viel schnellere Rennstrecke hier und unser Auto ist nicht so gut abgestimmt hier wie in Ungarn. Das sind zwei verschiedene Rennstrecken mit anderen Charakteristiken. Unser Auto geht viel besser in Ungarn. Nicht so gut hier, aber 4. Zeit ist nicht schlecht.
Besonders motiviert beim Heim Grand Prix?
Natürlich, aber ich bin motiviert mit allen Grand Prix natürlich.
Morgen muss man Reifen wechseln, kann man durchfahren?
Ich probiere durchfahren ohne Stopp, aber wir müssen sehen im Rennen. Wir haben wenig Informationen, weil ich heute Morgen nicht viel gefahren bin mit vollen Tanks. Also ich habe nicht genug Informationen, um das jetzt zu sagen.
Okay, danke schön, Thierry Butz.
Ja, danke schön, Martin. Donnelly haben wir gesehen über eine ganze Weile auf der Strecke im gelben Lotus Lamborghini. 1 Minute 56 war seine Zeit. Nicht besonders. Er steht, lassen Sie mich schauen, er steht auf dem 22. Startrang. Und hier Prozess im Benetton Ford noch einmal Nannini, der alle Register und Tricks aus der Formel 1 Kiste zieht. Und Umschnitt auf einen Tyrrell. Die Top-Piloten jetzt alle mit beiden Sätzen mindestens einmal unterwegs gewesen. Das ist der Japaner Satoru Nakajima im Tyrrell. Er liegt recht gut, unmittelbar hinter seinem Teamkollegen Alesi auf dem 10. Startplatz im Moment. Also die Situation an der Spitze hat sich wahrscheinlich eindeutig geklärt und stabilisiert. Senna, der 5 Rennen hintereinander nur eine Pole-Position herausholen konnte, ist also wieder Trainingsschnellster, wird wie im letzten Jahr aus der besten Startposition ins Rennen gehen. Neben ihm seinem Teamkollege in McLaren.
You can see it. Senna on pole, alongside him Berger. Then we have Prost. In the second row is Ferrari, then Boutsen. Mansell back in the third row. We haven't seen him that far back for a while. Then Nini, Patrese and Piquet, 8th quickest. Then we continue on. Alessi, again, John, a little bit further down than usual. Nakajima, good performance from him. Suzuki 11th, that's about where he was yesterday. 12th place, Capelli. We wonder if we more to come from the Leighton House. Modena in 13th. And then in 14th, let me just catch up here, Gujamin, then Bernard, Martini, Spiro, Warwick Cafe, De Cesaris, and number 21, position Larini. Donnelly is in 22nd place, Griard is 23rd, Brabham 24th, 25th Barilla, 26th Alboreto, the last man in, Alio, Tarquini, Dalmas and Gasho not making the cut.
So Ayrton Senna confirmed as a McLaren driver for next year and possibly for the next 2 years. And the McLarens share the front row of the grid here at Spa. Once again, John, it all looks a bit ominous.
Well, of course, McLaren on the front row of the grid, and of course Senna now, having reached an agreement, he's up again. He's buoyant, he's happy, he's smiling, he's relaxed. And of course he's going for his 3rd victory at Spa, but there's one man I think might be an interesting challenger. That's Alessandro Nannini. He spent most of the afternoon session running in race tyres in conditions he's going to be confronted with on Sunday. So maybe Nannini is going to take a leaf out of McLaren's book. McLaren won in Hockenheim from doing that ploy. Can Nannini win on Sunday?
Well, certainly Nannini is a man who's been threatening to win for the last couple of races. You can see if he does or not by watching Eurosport, the whole race live. It starts at 12:30 in the UK, 1:30 Central European time.